I'm Alan Newsom, and we are here at the BridgeMoto Café. This is definitely the best mountain driving roads in Georgia. So yeah, that's why we're up here. We're here to take care of our local drivers. So BridgeMoto evolved from me trying to figure out a way that I could join motorsports and stay involved in motorsports while being able to afford it. And unfortunately, I didn't come from a background where I had a lot of money, so I had to figure out some type of way of making it sustainable.
Hey, welcome to BridgeMoto.
What's happening?
Come on in, brother.
All right. Sweet. Yeah, give us the lowdown here. Give us the tour.
Yeah. So we're BridgeMoto Café. We are professional racing equipment. We do everything from bikes to cars and everything in between. We even make really cool mechanics wear and apparel. So yeah, come on in, check us out.
And the idea came about, well, I started looking at a lot of the racing equipment, safety equipment, and everything back in the early 2010s was like black, red, blue. It didn't matter if you're looking at harnesses, shoes, undergarments, helmets, everything was black, red, or blue. And I had the idea with my wife was if we could make some really, really cool driver shoes that kind of express style and your own characteristics of what you like. And that business model really grew into all different types of safety by demand.
About 3 years ago, we got into the bike equipment. We started making bike racing gloves, and then just this year, we've expanded to a full lineup. So we've got everything from DOT helmets, like you see here, to full leathers. And you know, for the guys that aren't as extreme and needing full leathers, we even make really cool armored jeans and jackets and whatnot. So you can still be protected while going into the grocery store or whatever.
Still looking good too.
Still looking
well,
good.
I noticed it like for the area, you get a lot of traffic that are bikes.
I would say the ratio, at least in North Georgia mountain roads, the ratio is probably, I would say 5 bikes to 1 car. Yeah, so it's a 5-to-1 ratio. Obviously, I'm in the bikes. I was in the bikes well before we started making bike equipment and safety. But, you know, I like the 90s stuff. So you see the bikes I have here. This is a 98 R1. That's a 95 ZX7. And I just really love the sound of kart bikes. I like the raw feel of just really working the throttle, being able to time in your brakes. There's no assist. So if you suck at riding, it'll let you know. And it helps you get better because I wasn't a great rider at all. But I did start out on a dirt bike. So that helped me at least understand the ergonomics.
I feel like that's the natural progression is like dirt bike and then it goes
and I've met, the cool thing about this location is I've met guys that started on road and then went dirt bike. They ride completely different than a guy like me that rode dirt bike and then on to on road.
So we said, you know what, let's try this. Let's veer out and figure out the certifications we need to make a proper race suit or helmet. And we've really grown our business line from there. So we didn't start with 90 products from day one. We started out with 1 product and we just listened to you guys, the customer, on what you wanted, and we grew from there.
We do a lot of custom race suits too. So you can see our suits from NASA Sandblast rally events all the way to Formula Drift and everything in between. My wife actually designs all the suits. So if you order a suit from us and it's custom made or tailor fitted, my wife is doing all that work. So stop giving me credit for that. That's
She's doing an awesome job. I was about to ask you with like the bike jackets. Like those. Oh, you did? Okay. So you designed like the color theme and like what you wanted there.
Everything down to like the shoulder pads and the elbow pads and the armor level. I design all that myself because I'm a little bit more educated on that part, while she's a lot more experienced when it comes to tailor-fitted suits and race suits. She's been doing that 11 years, so she really knows her stuff.
How I got into cars was really just playing video games early on. Sega Genesis, like playing Test Drive and 1 and 2 and getting and playing Ridge Racer and going to the arcades when they were a really prominent thing before the internet. So, you know, when my mom would go get her hair done at the mall, I was that kid. It's like, Mom, can I please have $5 to just go to the arcade, play as much games as possible, and stretch it out. And my goal and my objective was to lose as least as possible, because $5 really didn't go far in the arcade. So my first passion was really arcades, and that's why here at the BridgeMoto Café, you can come and play Initial D, or you can play Suzuka 8 Hours, because that's what I really wanted to do early on, is have my own arcade and express that love of video games. Unfortunately, when I got to an age where I could start working on that dream, the internet started booming, and online shopping and online gaming really took off in the early 2000s. So that dream kind of died out. But while that died out, my passion for cars really picked up in the early 2000s. So,
can we talk about over there the arcades?
That's a nerd rabbit hole, to be honest with you. Like I said, my first passion was video games, specifically arcade games, because that's where I just spent all my time as a kid. And so once I became an adult, these machines were still fairly expensive, not as expensive as they are today. But I said, you know what? If I can find them and fix them and apply my same philosophy as I did to cars, if I can fix it, I can buy it cheaper. And that's what I did with these games. I would buy them broke, and I would learn how to fix them with no prior education, but at least I had some electrical knowledge from working on cars. And I would just fix what's wrong with them, and then I would store them in my basement to the point where I had like 8 different Initial D machines, One Gone Midnight, all different types of stuff, like rally racing games, and there were, so I just decked my whole basement out with these games and fixed them one by one.
But so cool.
At the cafe, I really wanted to share, that experience. And there's nowhere maybe in the United States, but at least nowhere in the Southeast that you can go and play Initial D3 publicly. Yeah. The only ones out now are like the newer system, like the 8 that came from like 2016, 2017. And I used to have one of those too, but I sold it because the Initial D3 is like, any true Initial D arcade player will tell you this is the best version of all the like 10 versions, because it's kind of like before they start changing the software and everything. And then of course we had to have the Suzuka 8 Hours. I didn't want to have a bike game in here that was real cheesy and not tied to like track use. So the Suzuka 8 Hours is a really rare one, and you can drive Suzuka and 3 other tracks. But basically, the way it rides and the handling and the speed is true to a bike from that time, the 90s period, where it's not very arcadey and turbo boost and all this stuff. It's a true like endurance style race when you play these, as old as they are.
I think it's super cool just to I've probably seen this once.
Yeah, man.
And I don't even, I mean, it's like, it brings back childhood memories.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about, so in case you're not catching on quick, the revolving thing here is like, we love 80s and 90s stuff, and these games, even though they're early 2000s, this is when we was of age to go like drive to the arcade ourselves and go play the games and learn about Initial D and A86s. So when these games were popular in the functioning arcades, you couldn't go and like, unless you had connections to Japan and buy a bunch of VHSs, you didn't really know what Initial D was outside of the arcade. You thought it was just an arcade game.
Right.
I really gravitated toward Japanese cars because the time era that I grew up in, you couldn't really afford a muscle car at that time. They were starting to hit their peak, just like these Japanese cars are hitting their peak now. Back then, a good muscle car is 20 to 30 grand. And I like the way they look aesthetically. My dad was a Mopar guy, but he didn't have any of those cars when I grew up. He had them before I was born. So he got rid of them and was more of a responsible parent by the time I came along. I learned how to work on cars because I couldn't afford a nice car. The cars I could afford were always under $2,000, but I always wanted cool cars like a 3000 GT VR4 or Supra or whatever. And even broken Supra, I couldn't afford that years ago. So I learned how to work on them, and so not only this decision came from liking the aesthetics, but just liking how the motor works, how the drivetrain is, how well they're built or not built, how they hold up.
That makes all the difference, because your experience takes over and says, okay, actually form over function, function over form, this is what actually is going to be better. People need this, because I feel like a lot of places you look and you're like, that's really cool, but you're like, that's also going to break or tear or just not going to last as long as you want it to.
100%, and that's the cool thing. You hit it on the head. I'm glad it bleeds through. Is that we put our own experience, we put our own testing even through our products before it's available to the customer. So I'm going to be as non-biased as I can when I'm experiencing something, because it's not on the market yet, and then I can go back to the drawing board and adjust it. A perfect example of that is like our SFI driver shoes. Like when we first made these shoes, we learned certain things that we liked about it, certain things that we didn't. This is actually our version 3 of our signature driver shoe. So this is a double layer inner no mix and suede exterior, but we did everything from like making the grips like a tire tread to adding padding here, so where your normal wear and rubbing marks are, they really hold the shoe up well. And so we're always kind of revising. Another good example is we really brought the whole style of overalls, Japanese overalls, to USA.
I was gonna say, this is my favorite with the overalls. Like, knocked it out.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, that was a cool idea my wife and I both had, and we really wanted to bring sick colorway. So we've been doing these 11 years since we started, and we're really the pioneer of this style in the United States.
Because I feel like overalls get left out a lot.
They do, and a lot. You'll meet one or two types of people. It's like, oh, I just feel weird wearing an overall type person, or you find somebody that's like, you know what, this makes making an overall dope because it's so unique. Mm-hmm. and as cool as they are aesthetically, they're actually come from a basis of working on cars and bending over and stretching. So that's why you see the difference between ours and other overalls. It's like they have the elastic back waist, you have the adjustable side, so you can really adjust, how you want it tight or not. We have adjustable shoulders. We have reinforced stitching instead of it just being stitched. We have gusset crotches instead of regular crotches. So all that stuff aids into the quality of the product, how it holds up, how you can actually function in it, right, and not just be.
It's that experience coming in and going, you know what, if I had overalls that like did not tear here, or like if they had a pocket there, this would be awesome. I'm like, that's what you created.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, it's a common philosophy that we put into all our products.
Yeah, what drew me to the mountain roads was I've been driving the mountains for a couple decades now, so I've always had a passion to drive it. And to the point where I opened up my shop where we specialize in performance, engine builds and overhauls of Japanese and Euro cars. And that shop is actually named Toge Technique. So to the point where I've always been really dedicated to Toge driving. And my philosophy with Toge Techniques is total balance performance. What I mean by that is that the braking, acceleration, the handling, everything about your car can be really proved on the mountain, whether it's set up well or not. And what I've understood and learned is that if your car really excels in the mountains, it will excel on the racetrack as well, because you're going to heat your brakes up. You're going to find out how good your grip is. You're going to find out if the car oversteers or understeers. And so it's a good proving ground to make sure that the car's set up. And I wanted to expand on that philosophy with our location. So I wanted a place where you could come and drive the roads, come and try out our products. Instead of you buying a pair of gloves or shoes and say, well, I'll let you know how it is when I go out to the next track day, you can go put your shoes on right now or put your gloves on and try it on the mountain road and really understand the difference between having them and not, and get that feedback. Of course, we don't condone any illegal driving or racing outside of the racetrack, but you can drive these roads sensibly enough and still really experience what it is to have a proper driver's shoe or glove.
We started out with all our products being only FIA and SFI certified type things outside of our workwear. And we really started out really strong, but we saw we was missing a market of customer base that doesn't necessarily go to the track. They love driving the mountain roads, or they want to go do some autocross, and they just want a sport seat or a sportier feel when they drive their car. So we started designing our GTS model seats, which is Grand Touring Sport seats. And these are really cool. So all the ones you see here, the leather, the dual stitching, the patterns. They're all custom designed and hand selected materials by ourselves. So that's why they've got their own style and look and finish. And we do everything from, like you can see, the smooth red leather all the way down to different types of suede, Alcantara, houndstooth, plaids. List goes on and on. So if you're looking for a seat that fits you perfectly as far as design and style that you're going for, and you're willing to wait on it, we do offer some customization options as well. And we've been doing our steering wheels for quite a bit too.
That's what my next question is, like the steering wheels. Can someone come in and be like, hey, look, I love this, but can you do it in green? Or can you do...
Yeah, and we're willing to work with cool customers. We're willing to work with them that are willing to wait for something custom crafted. We will do that, no problem. And some of the things that separate our wheels from a lot of other wheels is not only are they built on a 6mm base, and this is a mono spoke. This isn't a two-piece wheel where you have an outside and inside. It's all one piece, which prevents it from flexing. It actually holds up in an incident or crash. But also they're all hand baseball stitched. So these wheels and the stitching, you can see how much thicker it is than a normal stitching you would see on an aftermarket wheel. And this actual baseball stitching holds up extremely well. I mean, that's why it comes from baseball.
It also looks really cool. Like
to me,
it's very clean the way it's done.
Yeah, to me, it's got that OEM-esque finish, and that's what I loved about like your GC8s and your some of your other cars that came out, like your Evo 7s and 8s. They had those nice thick wheels with baseball stitching, and you get the baseball stitching shifter, and to me that just screamed quality and class. So we wanted to embody that into our steering wheels as well.
Yeah, I love this place. This is super cool.
Yeah, we've got some option magazines and Drift Tengoku magazines. These are all new old stock magazines, so these aren't look through. These are brand new. But we get these from our buddy at Pinko Style, and he sends them over, and we just basically sell them at cost. Just something cool to collect while you're here. We offer hot coffee, so this is a hot fridge. So you can do everything from Boss coffees that you see people love in Japan, all the way down to matchas and konas.
I was about to say, the next thing you need is one of those crazy vending machines where it has like all like meals and drinks and
yeah.
like a Diet Coke vending machine.
Yeah, we're working on some cool stuff, and luckily our building is plumbed externally to add those type of amenities. So we've got some really cool things in the works. So if you've been here before, every time you come here, you'll probably see we've got new seats or new offerings. So definitely continue to spread the word about the BridgeMoto Café, and thank you for your support.
Awesome. High five. This is cool.
Man.
To me, it's like an art form. There's so many avenues you can take to build a cool car, and nobody's car is quite identical when you build them. So I love expressing my interest and my style into not only our race products, but the cars that we build. Far as the BridgeMoto Café, our whole focus on the BridgeMoto Café is to offer a nice, positive, community-driven location for you to not only enjoy your cars in the mountain roads, but to have an opportunity to take a break, come play some games, meet new friends, and also, just learn about other people in your community that share that same passion. So we encourage you to come by the cafe, make some friends, whether you're into bikes or cars. We're very friendly to both of those atmospheres, and yeah, just enjoy your car. Don't let it sit on jack stands. Get motivated to finish it. We need more community aspect places where we can get set up and enjoy our cars and not get kicked out. The Walmart doesn't want you to sit in their parking lot. We encourage you to come out here and make friends and enjoy your vehicles.